Immobilization number 7 is a wrist turnout. It's been around forever. It's very, very well known. It's called kotegashi. Depends on your Japanese pronunciation. I'm not the best at pronouncing it, but you get the gist, okay? So this turn right here is what you're after. The way that you initially practice with a student is your thumb comes down and grabs my right hand to his left hand, my left hand to his right hand, okay? So some of the other immobilizations, they're cross grabs over here. This is the same side, okay? So I'm gonna bring my hand down and I'm gonna grab the meaty portion of his hand and I'm gonna turn his wrist outward from his body, so away from his body, like this. So when I'm practicing initially, I get that movement down, like this. I'll rotate so you can see it a little bit differently. So get a little bit diagonal here, boom, just like this. As I get that initial movement of the one hand, the second hand comes up on top, second hand comes up on top, and you're able to see this basic movement here. Rotate again. So here or here. There's a couple ways to do a takedown. Now, immobilization number 7, this wrist turnout, doesn't have a lot of validity unless you're doing a takedown of some kind. So whether that takedown is directly over the person's flank into their diagonal, into a diagonal movement, or a more dynamic takedown. And I'll show those two examples just so you can see. These are pretty much, this is the ninja move, right? This is the kind of stuff that you see in the movies all the time. Steven Seagal, being an Aikido practitioner, uses this very effectively. It makes sense. That's what he's done his entire career. Anybody who's done jiu-jitsu or aikijutsu, they're going to know this. It was stolen from the Japanese and taken into other martial arts as well. I mean, Hapkido, this is very, very common. If you've ever done a defensive tactics course to become an instructor or just to learn how to do arrest techniques, you will have learned this technique. It's in a manual that was written by Applegate, Colonel Rex Applegate, who wrote it for combatives and close quarters, and it was adopted by the U.S. Marine Corps, I think in 1991. I mean, you can go back as early as the U.S. Army Combatives Manual in the 1940s, and you will see this in there. Okay, so
it is very effective.
Yeah, it's one of those techniques that if you're going to learn one immobilization, this is the one that I would recommend because it's got a lot of application to it.
It's also very simple.
Yeah, you don't have to work hard to learn this one. Okay, so basic takedown is this way over the top, and I move. Notice I'm not out here like this. My body's brought in, and we'll get a little bit of a movement. More dynamic movement comes up and rakes the face, so you come this way. Okay, sorry.
That's fine.
So
heavy eyebrows.
So just like that, right? So I'm going to get this kind of movement. So the first one, I'm going to come back a little bit here, and I'll take him over here so you can see it. So as I move, he goes this way, okay? Right? So I'm being pretty gentle at this point. I'll show you close here. I'll bring him up. It's like I feel like I was asking you guys on the website to come look at this video. Okay. So essentially, this is what I'm looking at, right? Here or here. Okay.
Uh-oh.
All right. And so if I'm doing the takedown, I'm going to do a more dynamic one to show you. So I'm going to spin my body as I do it, and I'm going to spin his hand up this way. So I'm not going to do this little small circle stuff that you would find like Wally J, small circle jiu-jitsu, which is very effective as well. I'm going to be a bit more dynamic. Okay, so watch as he goes down. Now, poor guy, I'm going to drag him into frame here. You can laugh at that on the website. Okay, we'll do it one more time. In frame, okay, so here. All right, so it's pretty messed up. Now from here, there's all kinds of techniques that you can do for defensive tactics for handcuffing, and we get into that in other videos. And then a basic takedown, I'm not going to do it as hard this time. I'm just going to sort of take him over just like this. That's another example. So that's a close version, okay? So whenever you're practicing kotegashi or immobilization number 7, be gentle, okay? When I was first learning to do this, I went through a defensive tactics instructor program in 1993 in the state of California, and it was covered by the Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training. And this was one of the techniques that we practiced over and over and over and over again. And a lot of the guys I was training with got really tired of it because I come from a traditional Japanese background initially. And so I was already very competent in Aikido, Aikijutsu, and Jiu-Jitsu, and so the consequences were I knew this one like the back of my hand, and so I'm this young guy eager and full of testosterone, trying to prove myself at my short little stature compared to all these officers from police departments throughout the state of California who are much larger than me, and I was throwing them all over the mat. And so it got to the point where people were like, seriously, knock it off, dude, because you get thrown so easily, and you really can't hit the mat hard if you're not prepared for it and you don't understand how to break your fall. So when you're practicing with your partner, so let's not say opponent, okay? You're practicing with your partner, and they are lending their body for you to use.
This is willing, yeah.
Okay, so when you're doing this, take it gentle, man. You don't need to try to be Steven Seagal and put them in a little circle in the air and then throw them back down onto the concrete, okay? Take it in steps, you know, work on the hand, work on the grip, do a little bit to get them off their balance, a little off kilter. Then work your immediate takedown, right, which is the close version diagonally over their arm. Don't go way out like this, okay? This is potentially much more harmful than this, okay? Now, when I do this reaping motion, if you will, though, it's different because it's much more dynamic and I'm moving the whole body. But if you just sort of and put a lot of muscle into this, you can cause some damage to them. So be gentle as you're doing it, practice it, and once you have the basics down, you can then advance beyond that and add more full power into it, and they'll come out on the other end pretty good for it.